here at home of the drones.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports?
Our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. But now we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act.
This is beyond insane, guys. Can you believe that we're watching Joe Biden's administration tear down America piece by piece? Trump demands Biden stop selling the border wall because selling it is almost a criminal act. And what do the Democrats do? Sabotage Trump before he even steps back into office. I mean, this is just straight up evil. It's like they're desperately trying to make sure that the border is just wide open for chaos. Meanwhile, Senator Tom Cotton is practically begging the Department of Defense to keep records of these shady sales. Why? Because there's got to be a cover-up here. And speaking of cover-ups, Trump is calling out the drone invasion, mysterious drones flying over New Jersey, New York, and beyond. A drone detection system is actually being deployed. And the question now is, are we getting the truth? ABC is also scrambling to settle Trump's defamation lawsuit for $15 million, which kind of only makes you wonder how much more that they have been lying about. You know what I mean? Are you outraged yet? Are you still buying this nonsense that they're selling? I'm not. By the way, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I totally appreciate you. ABC News and anchor George Stephanopoulos have finally reached a settlement with President-elect Donald Trump over a defamation lawsuit. So the agreement, it includes a public apology and a $15 million payment that will fund Trump's future presidential library. Now, this information was revealed in court documents filed on Saturday. In fact, the settlement means that George Stephanopoulos and Donald Trump will not have to go through the court-ordered questioning called depositions, which basically were scheduled for the following week. So Donald Trump originally sued ABC News and George Stephanopoulos in March 2024. The lawsuit stemmed from an interview on This Week where George Stephanopoulos repeatedly stated that a jury found Trump liable for rape in a case brought by advice columnist E. Jean Carroll. In reality, though, the jury found that Donald Trump was only liable for sexual abuse and not rape under New York law. So a part of the settlement, ABC News is going to be placing $15 million in a secure account escrow to be used for Trump's presidential library and foundation. ABC will also pay an additional $1 million to cover Trump's legal fees. ABC is also going to be adding an editor's note to the original article to correct the statement. Basically, the editor's note reads, ABC News and George Stephanopoulos regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during an interview by George Stephanopoulos with Representative Nancy Mace on ABC's This Week on March 10th, 2020. However, the plot thickens, doesn't it? Senator Tom Cotton, a representative from Arkansas, is now calling for transparency from the Department of Defense, the DOD, regarding the sale of southern border wall materials under President. And real quick, I just want to say thank you all for joining me. I know it's super late. It's early Tuesday morning. And I just want to thank you guys so much for joining with me. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel for those of you guys who have just joined the live. Appreciate that, guys. I got some clips that I want to share with you guys, so be sure to stick around to catch those. Joe Biden's administration. Tom Cotton directed his demand to the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, asking for a commitment to preserve all records related to these sales, especially as President-elect Donald Trump prepares to return to office. Now, in a letter to Secretary Lloyd Austin on Monday, Tom Cotton, he wrote that he wanted full accountability and transparency about the DOD's involvement in selling off leftover border wall materials. Cotton also acknowledged the fact that President Joe Biden made the decision to stop construction of the border wall along the southwestern U.S. border. However, he did question how the DOD has been handling the sale of these materials. Reports from Fox News revealed that Some sections of the border wall are being sold for pennies on the dollar, especially being treated as scrap, cheap scrap, basically. Now, according to DoD officials, this process has been legally authorized under the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA. The official explained that about 60% of the materials have been transferred to agencies like U.S. Customs and Border Protection in Texas and California. The remaining 40% has been sold through GovPlanet, which is basically a marketplace where surplus government materials are auctioned off. The DoD no longer owns these materials once they're listed on GovPlanet, and therefore they do not have the authority to stop the sales. In his letter, Tom Cotton asked Lloyd Austin of the following. He asked for a written assurance that all electronic and physical records related to the sale of these materials will be preserved, a complete report detailing how the materials have been disposed of as outlined by the NDAA, a list of every company that has purchased the materials. And Tom Cotton expressed his belief that this sale is a misuse of taxpayer money and a threat to national security. I mean, this should piss every single American off right now.
One of the things I'd like to ask the Biden administration, as you probably heard, there are two events that took place. We're talking about a friendly takeover, a friendly transition, as they like to say. This is a friendly transition, and it is, but there are two events that took place that I think are very terrible. One is that if people don't come back to work, come back into the office, they're going to be dismissed. And somebody in the Biden administration gave a 5-year waiver of that so that for 5 years, people don't have to come back into the office. It involved 49,000 people. For 5 years, they don't have to go. They just signed this thing. It's ridiculous. So it was like a gift to a union, and we're going to obviously be in court to stop it. The other thing is really terrible. We spent a tremendous amount of money on building the wall. The wall was designed specifically by the Border Patrol because it's very hard to climb. They need to have see-through. They need it to be steel because you can't cut. It's very powerful steel. It's very hard steel. It's a special type of steel, but very, very hard to cut. Inside the steel, as you know, we pour concrete, and that's a grade 10 concrete, which is a very strong concrete, very as though you were building about a 60-story building. It's very powerful concrete. They've made tremendous technology advances in the word concrete. Who would think that? But I know that from the construction industry. Today, what you can do with concrete is incredible. So we have a very strong concrete. And then we have a rebar. We put rebar inside the concrete, and the rebar likewise is very hard to cut. So it's a very expensive process, very expensive wall. And then we put a anti-climb plate on the top. You saw that. And I didn't like the look of it. But then when I watched, we had people testing. We had mountain climbers actually testing. And they were not able to get over the anti-climb plate. So I said, all right, I guess we're going to put it on. That plate on top, which I never loved the look of it, but it works so unbelievably well, you have to do it. So we spent a lot of money on building it, and we have hundreds of miles that we put up. A lot of people don't realize, but we did 571 miles of wall. That's why we had such good records, in addition to the fact that Mexico helped us with their military. They kept people out, and they were actually very good under the past leader. But now we ordered an additional 200 miles of wall. It's very expensive. And now it's about double the price of what it would have been 6 years ago. And the administration is trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, knowing that we're getting ready to put it up. And what they're doing is really an act. It's almost a criminal act. They know we're going to use it, and if we don't have it, we're going to have to rebuild it, and it'll cost double what it cost years ago, and that's hundreds of millions of dollars, because you're talking about a lot of wall. I built much more than I said I was going to build, but then after it was built, I said, you know, we can do some more because it's sort of like water, people flow through, and that will pretty much really take care of it. And what happened is they just, as you see, they're trying to sell it for 5 cents on the dollar, and that's really, that has nothing to do with a smooth transition. That has to do with people really trying to stop our nation. And all it means really is that we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars more, not even talking about the time. Time would be pretty long, but we'll spend hundreds of millions of dollars more on building the same wall that we already have. And people have already come back to us that have deals at 5 cents and 4 cents, and one guy at 3 cents on the dollar, and they offered to sell it back to us at more money than it costs us to build substantially. Can you believe it? So they make a deal with the United States to buy it for pennies, and then they call us and they say, do you want to buy it back? We'll sell it back to you for hundreds of dollars a foot. Hundreds of dollars, from pennies to hundreds of dollars a foot. And we can't let this take place. Now, we're going to go. I spoke with the Attorney General of Texas. I spoke to the senators of Texas. I spoke to a lot of people, and hopefully they'll be able to stop. We're going to be, having a restraining order. But just think about how ridiculous it is. And this is just people that don't want this country to succeed. And this has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. This has to do with common sense. We won on common sense, and this is maybe one of the most egregious examples I've seen. So the people that are buying it or trying to buy it are trying to make a deal with us to sell it back at hundreds of times more than we paid. And this is all because the Democrats. So I'm asking today Joe Biden to please stop selling the wall. We're going to use that to create a strong barrier. And it worked. That's why our numbers were so good. It really worked, and it worked well. And it's very expensive to do. And I'm asking Joe Biden to stop his people from giving it away. It's something that people can't even believe is happening. So hopefully Joe will be able to stop it.
They're literally throwing away our money, throwing away our taxes right here. I mean, just horrible. Absolutely a disgrace. He stated that when Donald Trump returns to office on January 20, 2025, the wasteful actions by the Biden administration will come to an end. Tom Cotton warned that Congress will thoroughly investigate the DOD's role in these sales using the preserved records. This is awful, guys. I mean, you want to talk about sabotage before Trump even gets into office? So during a press conference earlier today, Monday, Donald Trump urged the Biden administration to stop these sales, calling it almost a criminal act. Trump argued that these materials are being sold off, even though they know that the incoming administration plans on using them to complete the border wall. He pointed out that buying new materials later will cost significantly more, predicting that it could cost hundreds of millions of dollars more in order to rebuild the sections of the wall that's being sold off now. So this dispute really just kind of like highlights the clash between Donald Trump's goal of strengthening border security and Joe Biden's policies of halting border wall construction. Tom Cotton's demands for transparency, it definitely aims to ensure that records are being preserved so that actions taken by the Biden administration can be fully reviewed once Trump returns to office. Now, U.S. officials are sending a drone detection system to New York after a series of mysterious sightings of flying objects caused concern along the East Coast and even beyond that. So this discussion actually came after New York Governor Kathy Hochul requested federal assistance following an incident last week where drone sightings forced the closure of airport runways at Stewart International Airport for an hour. Literally, an airport was shut down because of these drones.
Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you.
Can you comment on the drones that are flying around New Jersey ports? It seems like the American people have a big disconnect.
The government knows what is happening. Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you
Want to
shoot
know
them
the
down?
truth.
You've received
They're
an
very,
intelligent briefing.
they're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster.
Have you been-
I've decided to cancel my trip.
Have you received an intelligence briefing on the drones?
I don't want to comment on that.
Have you been?
Do you have any reason to think they're a threat?
Two quick questions. First, on
Governor Kathy Hochul announced the news on social media platform X on Sunday. She said, quote, "In response to my calls for additional resources, our federal partners are sending a drone detection system to New York," end quote. So Kathy Hochul essentially emphasized that state governments need more authority to handle drone issues independently, especially since similar sightings have been reported in states like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, and even Massachusetts. And in addition to that, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio had to shut down for an hour on Friday evening due to drone sightings, according to news reports. So Governor Kathy Hochul also urged Congress to pass a law that would give states more power to address drone-related issues. She reassures the public, promising to do whatever it takes to ensure New Yorkers remain safe. On Sunday, Senator Chuck Schumer, he expressed his support for this effort, stating that he was working on legislation to give local law enforcement more authority to investigate unidentified flying objects. He said, "I'm pushing for answers amid these drone sightings." Hey, Senator Chuck Schumer, you guys believe him? Senator Chuck Schumer also said he requested that a drone detection system be sent to New Jersey, where many of the recent aerial encounters have occurred. Now, in response to the situation, New Jersey Senator Andy Kim, he spent time over the weekend observing the night sky with local residents. After speaking with civilian pilots and examining flight tracking data, Senator Andy Kim concluded that most of the objects that were seen were almost certainly planes, they're saying. Do you guys believe that these were almost certainly mostly planes? From the videos that I've seen, the flight patterns, they're not in alignment with how planes typically fly. So I don't know if I buy that. But anyway, despite the calls for more resources, Governor Kathy Hochul and other officials have reassured the public that these drones do not pose a national security threat. On Sunday, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he confirmed that the sightings included both drones and regular aircraft that people often mistake for drones. He told ABC News that there's no foreign involvement behind these incidents. The Pentagon also dismissed claims by a New Jersey representative suggesting that the drones might be launched from an Iranian mothership off the East Coast. Additionally, an FBI official suggested that public reactions to these sightings may have been a slight overreaction. Now, I'm so sick of these people saying that, folks who are reporting these drone sightings are just simply overreacting. The only people who are likely saying this are people who already know what's going on, or they don't have drones flying over their homes. You know what I mean? Drones the size of SUVs and buses. And for those of you guys who are just now coming into the live, appreciate you guys for joining me. Take a second, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. More and more of you guys are coming in. I know it's late tonight. I'm just really surprised at how many more people are coming in here. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, he also explained that the recent rise in drone sightings might be due to new federal regulations that now allow drones to fly at night. He emphasized that the federal government is working very closely with state and local authorities and stated that it is critical to give them the ability to counter drone activities while operating under federal supervision. Now, in a breaking news conference, Donald Trump publicly urged Joe Biden to stop selling off these materials that are intended for the southern border. Trump highlighted that Biden's administration is auctioning off these materials for pennies on the dollar, meaning that they're being sold so far below their actual value. Trump warned that if these materials are sold now, it will cost much, much more to buy new ones and to rebuild the wall later, not to mention how long it might take to even get the materials. So this issue was reported by the Daily Wire on December 12th, stating that Joe Biden's administration is rushing to sell off the wall materials before Donald Trump takes office. The goal, according to Border Patrol agents in Arizona, is to remove all of these materials by Christmas. Now, during this press conference at Mar-a-Lago, Trump said, hey, I'm asking Joe Biden to please stop his people from giving away the wall. Trump criticized the Biden administration for actions that he believes are undermining the country's security and making it harder to complete the border wall. He expressed frustration with the Border Patrol agents who were assisting with the removal of these materials, saying that if they continue, they should be fired when he takes office. Trump suggested that agents who refuse to help dismantle the wall would likely be rewarded when he returns to office. Texas is taking a stand on this issue. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, he declared that Texas would buy any border wall materials that Joe Biden is selling and give them to Donald Trump to help complete the wall. Patrick stated, we will buy every piece of the border wall that Biden is selling and trying to give to Trump. He said that we will buy every piece of the border wall that Biden is selling and give it to Trump. So Patrick called out the Biden administration for policies that he believes are allowing dangerous people, terrorists, murderers, rapists into the country. He criticized Biden's decision as an effort to sabotage Donald Trump's plans to secure the border. So during this discussion, Tom Homan, a former acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, was also praised for his strong stance on the enforcing of the law. Tom Homan has a reputation for holding both politicians and law enforcement accountable. In fact, insisting that anyone who breaks the law, regardless of their position, should face consequences. The urgency of this issue is very clear because selling off these materials now could easily delay or even block Donald Trump's ability to fulfill one of his major campaign promises, which is finishing the border wall. The materials were originally bought for the border during Trump's first term, but have remained unused since Joe Biden took office in 2021. Dan Patrick emphasized that Texas has the funds to buy the materials, saying, I've got $1 billion in my pocket to do it. He noted that Texas has about $6 billion set aside for border security. So in a conversation with Laura Ingraham on Fox News, Patrick joked about not driving up the cost of these materials since they're being sold so cheaply. Ingraham also added that this situation shows that the Biden administration seems to be encouraging more people to cross the border. So, yeah, I mean, this story was actually first reported by the Daily Wire and ultimately highlighted by Charlie Kirk, underscoring the ongoing tension between Donald Trump and Joe Biden over border security. And, you know, hey, Trump's call to action reflects his commitment to securing the border and his frustration with Biden's policies, which he believes is undermining these efforts. And I think Trump's taking the higher road because he keeps saying, hey, this is a peaceful transfer of power, but you're doing some shady stuff here, man. And you're trying to sabotage me before I get in this office. So I don't know, guys. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. Is this a sabotage? Is this Biden basically trying to burn down America on the way out? Is Kamala Harris in on this too? I mean, like, what's really going on here? Why is there all of a sudden a dire need to sell off border wall materials for pennies on a dollar, a fire sale? Like, for what? Right? For what? And why do you have to get rid of all these materials by Christmas? I'm saying this just doesn't add up. This looks to me like this is a cover up. They're trying to hide something. Something's going on here, guys. Anyway, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, check out our previous videos. We'll see you guys next time. Well, guys, the great wealth transfer is in full effect. Our freedoms are being stolen, guys. Credit card companies are out to get us. And if you don't understand the game, well, you end up getting played by the game. Now, if you're anything like me, guys, you know, you were probably out of shape, maybe in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, and just feeling like the system is just completely taking advantage of you. I remember for a long time, I could rarely ever get any time to spend with my wife. And through trial and error and through a lot of pain, I figured out how to gain freedom and also lose a lot of weight and actually get in shape. And guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, that was a game changer. To no longer be living paycheck to paycheck, figuring out how to get the credit cards to pay me, the power of a strong credit score. I pay thousands of dollars less per year for the same house as my neighbor just because my credit is better than his is. And this is not to brag. I mean, but this is the truth. The banks are literally taking advantage of the poor. It's like the people who can least afford it, they're charging the poor what is like unofficially called a poor tax or a tax on the poor. I mean, I'm now at a point where, you know, like, number one, I don't pay for credit cards. In fact, credit card companies pay me to use their cards. And I figured out how to build a lifestyle that is just ultimately very, very healthy. I lost a tremendous amount of weight and I put on a lot of muscle. But when I was struggling, I wish I knew people who knew these things. So anyway, I decided to create a community of like-minded people who are also interested, just like me, in living better. So if you guys want to join my community, it's called the Liberty Pursuit Network. It is brand new. Come on over. I'd love to have you guys and join like-minded people. Be positively motivated by others who are also on the same pursuit. So I'm going to leave a link for you guys so you can join me over on the Life Pursuit Network in the description down below this video. So check it out, guys, and let's not be a victim of this great wealth transfer that is taking place right now.